Welcome to Serious.Fun, a podcast where I have serious, fun conversations about life, society, culture, and health. It's Brooks here. This week, my guest is Brady Brewer. Brady is an integration coach, and he is the founder of the High Frequency Life. He's developed his own method that connects music to consciousness to facilitate healing, and it's one of the most unique coaching tools I've ever come across. Brady and I first met last summer at a men's conference in Frazer, Colorado, and he's one of the dopest humans on the planet. I've had the pleasure of seeing Brady work firsthand, and it's one of those things that you have to feel to understand, but we do our best to break down his method on this episode. We all know that feeling of when a song touches your soul and expresses something that you didn't have words for. And Brady's technique harnesses that feeling intentionally to help individuals heal and grow their spirit. It was right after this podcast that we coined his new nickname, the Spiritual DJ. We talk about why he uses music to help people move through challenging transitions in their lives. We talk about the power of experiencing music with others and how music can enhance your well-being. He'll mention a contact at the end of the show that has since been updated. So if you want to find more about Brady after this show, you can go to his Instagram at the Spiritual DJ. I'm excited to present this serious, fun conversation with Brady Brewer. Enjoy. Where are we right now?
Right now, we are in the kitchen of HQ.
HQ of what?
Strong Coach.
Yeah.
We're in the kitchen of Strong Coach HQ.
Mr. Ben has achieved his dream of creating the hangout environment, and we are currently in it right now. Where are we?
We are in the kitchen of Strong Coach HQ.
In McCall, Idaho. How awesome is McCall, man?
Oh, dude, McCall, Idaho is excellent.
What did we see today that when people are like, what's all this? What's this McCall business about? Where do we go?
Well, if you go to the scenic overlook right over the lake, you'll know why McCall, Idaho.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
So this show's super easy, Brady. People already know about you. They know about what you do, but they don't know a whole lot about why you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what are you serious about right now?
In my words?
I hope so.
In my language?
Mm-hmm.
I imagine by reaching people's hearts through music and helping them create a relationship with it, the more high frequency the collective will be vibrating.
Let's go in. Music, literally, are vibrations that hit our eardrum, and then our eardrum sends a signal to our brain that we interpret as sound. I want to start there because without this pretext, that it literally, this isn't, we're not going out into the into woo-woo here. This is literally what's happening. Music and sound are vibration that you can feel very well when you hum. You feel the body vibrating when you hum. So you know that it's vibration. It hits our inner eardrum, and then we We scramble that into a sound in our brain, and we agree that we hear stuff, and we also agree that on a physical level, that's what's happening. But when you say raise the frequency, this is also science, understanding frequency and vibration. So, Brady, why do you love doing that with music? Because we could use any sounds, right? Any sounds. Some people like to use a gong. Some people like to use a singing bowl. Some people like to make snaps and claps and use their body. Oh, I love that one. I love when people use and like slap their body to create music.
Yeah.
But you love using music, professionally made music and songs to guide people. Why?
Music is something outside of ourselves that helps us make sense of what's happening inside of ourselves. It's the thing that we feel and can't, or at least have trouble describing. And that feeling is unique to everyone. What that, yeah. So that feeling is unique to everyone based on the experiences that they have. Music, professionally made music or otherwise, is an expression. Somebody was able to express what some people can feel and have no language for.
Mm-hmm.
And so when those people tell their stories, that story can resonate for so many in the way that's unique to them. But because they don't have words for what they feel, their ability to process whatever that is that they feel through the music, it's happening outside of them. It's music is a 3 to 5 minute break from whatever reality you're in. 3 to 5 minutes of feeling understood. And then that 3 to 5 minutes ends. But if we can go into that song, provide language for the thing that doesn't make sense, then it's inside.
When I was in high school, I had a girl that I had a huge crush on. And I had no idea. I'm 17. No idea how to put language around the giddiness and the excitement that I felt around her. 17, right? And then I heard a Three Doors Down song that made me like 17-year-old cry, because it was like he said something that I had no language for. That feeling of like excitement and love and what I interpreted to be love at the level that I was ready to do that at 17.
Mm-hmm.
But he was able to name that in such a way that I had no idea how I could have done. And that's just like such a silly but awesome example of what you're describing, which is that
it's perfect.
That we hit those with that music that just hits you just right. I love the chills. You hit that song that give you the chills, you know that you're really on to something.
Yeah.
If somebody has a song that gives them the chill, that feeling of like, oh, that buzz, how would you guide them?
I would ask them when it hits that way, I would ask them what they have going on in their lives right now. And then we would listen to the song together. And the song can help us what's happening, which helps us understand where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, to get there, we listen to the song and just take note of the specific times in the song that is felt. And if there are lyrics, did you feel the music or did you feel the lyrics? Or did you feel the totality of both?
Mm.
Because sometimes the music can create that resonance, and two things can happen. The lyrics will align with the story that you're in or that you receive from the song, or they're out of alignment.
Mm. Dude, one
So
thing
we
that
would
I
just follow that.
yeah, like one thing that I notice is that it works in both directions.
Yeah.
Like there are songs that hit me and I get the chills and it feels just right, like that good soul song for me. But there's also those songs that like are touching this kind of icky spot,
Mm. Yeah.
and sometimes maybe we even like, because it's the only thing that can do that, we can kind of lean on it maybe to like feel a certain emotion. We don't feel like we can
Yes.
express it without it, and we lean on music in that way. Have you ever worked with
Yes.
people that use it in that direction?
Yeah, where they just use it to indulge it or escape it. That's the two directions that can go: indulgence or escapism.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I've noticed that like as I've as I've gotten older, and then I'm like, I totally get, you start to like really understand adults and parents in general. Like really be careful, be conscious what you're putting in your brain.
Yeah.
Really be conscious what sorts of vibrations you're allowing, what sorts of frequencies you're allowing into your body, because like you said, you can take things from the outside and you can internalize them. You can internalize other people's emotions. You could be a really happy person, and if you're listening to, say, screamo music for weeks on end, some of that's going to rub off. You could be a very happy person, but you're going to feel that frequency and feel that pain and anger, and because sound is it's such a visceral experience. Feeling's visceral too, but something about sound feels like you're getting it. Yeah, you're hearing it in your ears, but you really are feeling it all the way through your body.
Mm-hmm.
And using your body as like thinking about it like a tuning fork. You kind of hit that bottom, it's going to resonate all the way to the top. And if you hit that top, it's going to resonate all the way to the bottom. So I'll hear music that'll resonate up like right at the base of my spine and shoot down. And then there's some that like start feeling like tingling at the ends of my fingers and it shoots back towards my heart. So I don't know if there's any like, I don't know how much you can speak to what happens if the origin of the feeling is this way or that way, or what are you noticing about when people try to describe the feeling that they're having?
Yeah. Some do it easily. Some we just feel into it, and just allow it to be described to the best that they can. Um, but something that came up with the screamo genre. What's interesting is that a lot of that is angsty as you could imagine it might be, and sometimes when you read into the lyrics, they're much more inspirational than you would think.
Hmm.
And so when it comes to those genres that you would think that they are expressing something anxious or um, yeah, angst is angst is the
Anger, yeah,
anger,
angry.
angsty. Um, Sometimes they're not, and it's that way with every genre. Gangster rap, you're receiving somebody's anger,
Mm.
um, and then every once in a while, you'll catch that song that's speaking from inspiration.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and so I suppose when you're receiving that kind of emotion or experience from music, check in with why, check in with what the lyrics say, because you may think you're relating to somebody's story that you're just not.
Mm.
That isn't accurate. Um, and so that's not for you, which is why it's important to know what's coming in.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody says, "Hey Brady, like I'm just looking for a little insight in my life, and it seems like your work seems really fun. Because I love music, right? So it's like, yeah, let's use music. What is somebody to expect when they sit down to work with you for the first time?"
Curiosity.
Hmm. Tell me more.
Curiosity. Um, Knowing how they found me and what it was from would help me understand where the awareness is at. But yeah, it would be curiosity. What's happening for you? How are things going for you? What are you drawn to with this? And then we start connecting dots and feeling into music in general that reaches them, and if there's been a particular song that's you've been resonating with and feeling lately. So with that, yeah, then we just go into the experience.
What sort of like responses or insights do people have when they do your type of work? Because I imagine it's super varied, right? Because people are going to come to you with all these different types of stories that they want to work out. What type of what are like some examples of some insights that you've seen? And maybe I don't want to, instead of getting too specific, like what sorts of experiences are people having? Like, are they there just to feel the music? Are they there to learn something about themselves? Are they there to get to the bottom of a story? Like, what are the different ranges of how we can apply the work?
Yeah. So I had a client who one of his intentions was to find his voice. Like he's always felt very voiceless. And by getting into where he was at and what he was experiencing, uh, the song that has been resonating for him lately was Aloha Keakua by Nako in Medicine for the People. And what it turned out being, he felt like he had no voice because he has no say in what's happening in the world.
Mm.
And so that that weight of the world being something that he felt he had on his shoulders and couldn't do anything about was taking his voice away. And so by taking that awareness that was on the world and pulling that awareness into what he can impact, it opened up the channel.
I see. So he's allowing the space to get filled with a different story, which that it's not that he has no influence, it's that the scale at which he's thinking he has to make an influence was just skewed. It was not really accurate.
Right.
And so now you're able to use this music to provide the insight, like, oh, there are things that you can influence, and here's what we can do from there. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's a good example. Anything else that's like really calling to you, like here's a radically different example of what we can do?
Yeah. Another client was very drawn to music that was fun and cheeky and flirty, and we got to connect a lot of dots to the fun and engagement that she was seeking in her environment. And by identifying, by naming what she wanted, it created room for her to connect the dots.
Mm.
Yeah, and be with life in a way that was meaningful to her.
Mm. Music is such a personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of my favorite ways to use music is for fun. Tell me about your relationship to fun in general. Like, has it always been something that you aspire to in your life? Is it something you had to learn? How do you like to have fun?
I did have to learn. I did learn. I got to learn how to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my relationship to it was over the course of the last 2 years, I opened myself up to the music festival culture and the music culture just in my city. And so fun for me prior to, COVID was going to concerts.
Mm.
Yeah, going to concerts with friends. You can catch a good show for $20, and a great show for whatever the cost of admission. Regardless of the show, there were few things better than being in live music with friends that loved it as much as you did, and also like being able to just know that the guy standing next to you is there for the same reason.
Mm.
And you can just start talking.
And it's just like the chain goes out because sometimes that's another 10,000 people.
Right.
The person next to you.
Right.
The chain of it is 10,000
mm-hmm.
people, and they're all sharing in that experience.
Right.
I mean, it is It doesn't sound as crazy to me as it once did to think that like the idea that music can change the world. That sounds like something that's become like a cliche when we say that, like, oh, music can change the world. But when you think about some of these transcendent experiences, so many of them happen in large gatherings where music is being held. Some of the most iconic times in history, the Woodstocks of the world, for example, the Tomorrowland genre. Coachella has now become like, dude, Beyonce's concert at Coachella, right? It's become like this transcendent type of thing, and it's just continuing to show you how much influence music has on shifting the global conversation. So, to me, one of the fascinating things about your work is that you're connecting people back to music that they might hear on the radio, or that they do hear on the radio, and that there are these artists out there that are channeling on others' behalf, their own behalf and others' behalf, like these feelings that we're trying to work out as a society. Sometimes those are challenging and they create friction. Some music's actually designed to create friction. Pink Floyd used to do that all the time. Jazz musicians used to do that all the time. Music that's intended to create friction in your body, to make you feel that discomfort, to feel into it without words. These musicians have been really doing this for a long time, and now the digital era has brought in a lot of electronic musicians that are playing with different frequencies and beat settings and all of the things that I couldn't even begin to try to describe. But like, there's people actively believing and trying to heal the world with music, and one of the ways that you're doing that is with stories. So how did you get into the language game?
I got into the language game through Strong Coach. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Strong Coach HQ. Here we are.
Check one for Strong Coach.
Yeah. Sean Lazio's in the house, everybody. Oh, shit. It's Grant Thomas. Oh, my God. It's Oddball. There he is. And then there's somebody in that chair over there. Hey. I see Benji, too. Yeah. A lot of this was fueled because we changed our language.
Yeah.
When did you make that choice?
I started changing my language when I started listening to Joe Rogan. Because he delivers very intentionally and cares about what it means. And I remember being on my discovery call with Ben Joy. He's like, "Oh shit, you are like, your language is good." And then I got into Strong Coach and it blew open. So like, when did I change my language? Many years ago.
And what's shifted in your life because of it?
Yeah, where, being tuned into my feeling, and also to a way of thinking that wasn't tied to anything.
Just allowing feelings to be feelings.
Yes.
No stories necessary.
Right. And like taking responsibility for yourself too, which is where that projection play comes in.
A lot of people think taking responsibility for themselves means getting a good job and getting health insurance.
Right.
So what do we mean by responsibility?
Yeah, taking ownership. Taking radical ownership.
Yeah, not being like, they did this to me. I put myself in a position to have this done to me. It's a big difference.
Huge difference.
Or things are happening to me. It's like, or my job is this, or my husband is that, right? As soon as we start casting the vision out to the other person, something outside of ourselves, and saying that that's what's wrong, we are then giving away responsibility for the moment. That's what we mean by responsibility. And language tells you a lot about whether or not you're taking responsibility for your stuff. Especially with this, what are some like really basic, small cues? Like what are some simple categories that we can start to put language into? One of them that comes to mind for me is soft talk. The mights, the maybes, the probablys, or the I feel likes, right? Not taking ownership of what's going on. Negations, that's another fun one, right? Well, I don't want this. Right now you're casting the story out that there's something outside of yourself that you can't influence. I don't want this. Well, okay, what do you want? These are some really basic steps, okay? But what happened to me, and what I notice is that once we become, these are like the phases of awareness. You have the wake-up moment. Oh, shit. The things that I'm saying matter. The things that I'm saying are shaping the story that I'm seeing play out in front of my eyes. Huh, that's crazy. And then once you have that shift and you start understanding the basic frameworks of these language, you can't help but hear it in everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, how quickly have you mastered something that you've known about for 10 minutes before you start trying to tell everybody about what you've been doing? Or not even saying, oh, well, that's soft talk that you're using. Oh, well, that's a negation. Oh, well, that's a this. Well, that's a that. And it's like, oh, great, man. Yeah, you've been on this for 2 weeks now. Way to go. I immediately had that problem. It's like seeing it in other people. And to me, although it's an annoying phase, it's a really important one. Because then you start seeing where you can show up for your community and you can show up for other people, not by fixing them, but by actually hearing them and using what you know as a filter where you're not trying to fix their language. You now can decipher their language and then give them back what they need in a more accurate and, I would say, compassionate way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I enjoy that about the strong coach techniques, especially when it comes to sales. You know, at first, like we grow into this new understanding and we want to try to educate people on these initial calls. Somebody says you want, and Ben Joy said it the other day, like if somebody says they want to get toned, you don't have to educate them on this word that they've now used, tone, that they probably don't understand. That's not what it's for.
No.
What you can say is you can hear them and you go, I see where you're at, or I hear where you're at based on the language that you're using to describe your reality. You think getting to, oh, yep, this is totally going to get you toned. And you can say that with honesty because it's going to tone their brain. It's going to tone their emotions. And then, because those things get toned, their body does too.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, man. What are you laughing at, Grant? Oh.
Step 1, squat rack.
Squat rack. We need one. Yeah, well, I think one thing I want to get off my chest with Brady on the line here is that we've really, how long we met in Colorado earlier in the year, and yet we're already seeing each other again, and we've changed our language, and part of what our lifestyle looks like is just a lot different than it used to look. We're in McCall, Idaho. We're getting to share some really radical stuff with some really awesome people. Not only are we holding space with some other superheroes here, but we're actually getting to shape an industry that we believe that can change the world. For us, it's the health and fitness industry. So how would you relate what you do to health? I love how contemplative you are. It's one of my favorite things about Brady. He doesn't just straight up just go into something. He thinks about this shit.
Yeah, and I appreciate this because I get to language things I haven't before.
Mm-hmm. We're languaging in real time.
We're languaging in real time right now. And so what I imagine is that by particularly addressing the stories that come through music and healing them, if that's what it calls for, particularly, that creates a new state of health and well-being. Like that well-being, I imagine, is a very particular gateway to health. And when you're in that place of really connecting with and to your story through music and moving through it, that creates a sense of well-being that makes health a much easier thing, or it's an easier thing to integrate because it's what your well-being calls for.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Well, I used to say well-being and not really think about it because I was thinking, it's like, no, it's well-being or being well.
Being well.
Yeah, and being well opens a gateway for health.
Right.
Yes. And a lot of times the pathway to health for many people is finding moments of well-being and expanding moments of well-being to make into hours of well-being and to make days of well-being. And then health is a byproduct of well-being. Mm-hmm. I've never thought about it like that. Well-being.
Well-being.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm just taking care of my well-being. No. I'm being well as a gateway to health. That is such a good insight. I've never thought about it like that. Because so many times people look for physical practices to try to be well. Like they have to change their food, or they have to change their exercise practice. They have to change something to be well for their well-being. But really, you can use music for these moments of well-being that provide ease. That's the word I'm looking for here.
Yes.
Is like down-regulating people through ease. And music does that, right?
Yes.
It allows us to process things easily.
Yes.
Because
And
we don't
once
have to force it. We get to relax into the song.
And to add to that is that you get to process the thing that like needs processed.
Because a lot of times we want to fight it. It comes up and we're like, no, I don't want, but it's coming up for our well-being.
Right.
No. The hard stuff comes up for our well-being. Oh, dude. Man.
For being well in your life.
Yes. Those things come
which
up.
Optimizes. That's like the foundation of optimizing health. Is optimizing your being, your well-being.
And you use music.
And I use music
to guide people towards their well-being. Dude, that is like perfect loop on this episode.
That was beautiful.
Nice one. Okay, so if you're interested in upgrading your well-being on a path to health, doesn't matter if you're a working professional, if you're someone who's just looking to maybe get fit for the first time, if you're just a person in general and you want to get to know yourself better and you want to achieve this state of well-being, excuse my language, I can cuss on my own show, get in touch with Brady Brewer. And how can they do that?
They can find me on Instagram. It's Brady__Brewer, and it's the High Frequency Life. There is a website coming. For now, Instagram is the best place.
Sweet, man. Thank you, dude. I want to say, man, I'm proud of you. You set out on a path. You made a commitment to really share your work on a higher level since we left Colorado, which has now been less than 60 days. And you are absolutely crushing it, brother. So I can't wait to see how this stuff unfolds.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Peace. Thanks for listening to this Serious Fun conversation with Brady Brewer. This show is brought to you by you. If you'd like to support the show, you can rate it 5 stars, leave a kind comment, or by sharing it with a friend. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.